Thank you, and welcome back to this weekly thing we're doing, RB and I. My name is George, of course. For this session, we're going to be talking about something that actually I saw this in RB's posts. It's all about self acceptance, and I found it very, very appropriate and very timely because nowadays a lot of people, especially young people, uh, can't seem to decide if they like who they are or what they are. And maybe this is the best time for RB to maybe clarify it to us, maybe explain it to us what it really means to have self acceptance. What do you think, RB?
From your definition, George, like what does self-acceptance mean to you personally?
Without even asking you about it when I saw the post, a lot of times we want to be somebody else. Let's take, for example, us in radio. When we were in radio, I don't know about you, but when we started out, when I started out in radio when I was 15 years old, that was a long time ago. I always wanted to sound like somebody else. I tried listening to that somebody else whenever I was free so that I'd be able to copy him and do whatever he was saying on air. There was one time when I was being pirated by another radio station. I asked the one who was pirating me, the station manager, why are you getting me? And he said, because you sound like Chris Eric Stevens, he said. And Chris Eric Stevens happens to be one of the top DJs in the US. I didn't realize I sound like him. I don't know if he was just pulling my leg or whatever. But I guess that sold it. So I transferred to that particular radio station. Through the years, as I was, growing up and getting more mature, probably in the radio industry, I realized that I can't forever sound like somebody else. I had to find my own identity. So that's when I started developing whatever I was. It was a phase that was very difficult for me because it took a long time for me to get into my comfort zone, so to speak, and get my comfort level until finally, after several years, I was able to develop what George Boone came to be. And until now, that's what I try to sound like, or that's how I sound. I don't even try to do it myself anymore. I just sound that way because I've gotten used to it. It's become my comfort level, and I guess that's my version of self acceptance.
So what I'm hearing from you, George, is that at least in the field of finding your voice in the broadcast
Mhm.
industry, self-acceptance is about developing and expressing a unique voice which is different from the original peg for you.
Yes, that's right. Even the way I speak and stuff, like I realized I didn't even have to sound like Chris Eric Stevens or some American DJ. I just realized that I had to be comfortable, and more than anything else, I realized that my listeners have to be very comfortable with me because if they don't understand me, I won't have any listeners anymore. So that was the start, and I guess that also helped me when I made a big transition to training because when you're understood by your students, by your participants, it's much better. It's easier for you to get your ideas across. You know what I mean, right?
So George, I'm curious, what led to the process of discovering and expressing your unique voice?
I was having a difficult time maintaining consistency. Like one day I would sound like the one I wanted to sound like. Next day I wasn't like that. In particularly bad days, it was really bad. And then I realized, no, it can't go. I can't go on this way because we have this certain thing in broadcast. You're only as good as your last program. So even if I sounded perfectly like a Chris Eric Stevens the day before, then today I suck. That's it. It could be the end of my career. So I told myself I got to be more consistent, and the only way to do that is for me to be myself. Whilst before I tried lowering my voice to the point that I had I purposely smoked more, not the more cigarettes, but more cigarettes, just to keep my voice low. That's the effect of cigarettes on you, to keep your voice low. But then I realized, you can't do that every day, and besides, that's really bad for your health. So when I quit smoking, the initial reaction of my body and my vocal cords was, it raised my voice, the pitch of my voice, probably 1 or 2 levels up, and I hated it initially, but eventually I got to realize, hey, this is my comfort level. This is me. This is George, and I started using it until I realized I could be more effective and at the same time more efficient that way.
Yeah. I mean, as I listen to what you're saying, I hear number one, a dissatisfaction with the inconsistency.
Yes, more
And
than
then this,
anything else.
mm, and the second one is prioritizing, I suppose, your health
Uh huh.
or sounding artificially low.
Yeah. Uh huh. You have to understand. No, some listeners might be wondering what I'm talking about. Until the 70s or even 80s for that matter, or even the early 90s, DJs were expected to have a very low voice. You're talking, and the speakers, the radio sets of listeners don't vibrate enough. Your voice is not that low. So that
Wow.
was that was the standard before, and of course, everyone tried to follow that. Pababaan ng boses, to the point that sometimes you can't even understand them anymore. If you listen to the radio now, probably there's some more of those kinds of DJs on the air, and it's very difficult to understand them because of that. They try to modulate their voice to the point that it's incomprehensible anymore. And I didn't want that, because you know how it is. Radio broadcasting is information and entertainment. How could you entertain and inform if you're not understood by your listeners? So that's it.
Yeah, and I think George, your analogy is perfect
Mm-hmm.
in a sense that it captures what self-acceptance is.
Uh-huh. That's right.
It always begins with not liking who you are
Mm-hmm.
or how you sound or how you look, and then eventually seeing that, hey, this is a difficult thing to maintain, trying to be someone else,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
and
Uh-huh.
somewhere along the way finding that level, finding that spot, finding the golden middle of where you would like to be in such a way that it's not a struggle to maintain it. And I guess coming to terms with the fact that, hey, this is my unique sound, this is my unique look,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not just tolerating the unique look or unique sound, but actually loving it.
Yes, that's right. And it's so funny because I never thought that I'd have this particularly unique voice. But then when I was able to develop everything, it's surprising because now they know somehow my voice was able to somehow acquire a unique identity, which made it the George Boone sound. It's so funny, like a month ago, I did a live voiceover for one of my clients. It was an event, and I found it hilarious that when I was reading the script, when I was doing the announcements, one of the cameras, the director, told one of the cameramen to focus the camera on me when I was just supposed to be a voiceover announcer. It was behind the controls. And after I spoke, I asked him why, and then he announced to everyone that guy, what he's been doing for several years, ever since he was a teenager, and he still sounds the same. I never realized that. I guess an ego booster for me, so to speak, because it recognized the fact that I was George Boone, and I was George Boone before. I'm still George Boone now, even at this advanced stage of mine.
Wow. And bringing it bringing what you're saying, George, to outside of broadcasting,
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people trying to sound like someone else or look like someone else.
Yes. Uh-huh.
There are probably singers who want to sound like a famous singer.
Mm-hmm.
There are actors who want to follow a particular template.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the corporate world, people want to be like the VPs,
Uh-huh.
to the point where whatever their natural talents are, they get covered up
Yep.
in layers of attempts to be
Uh-huh.
someone else.
One of our modules or programs is about executive presence, right? And I always cite as an example the likes of Jaime Zobel de Ayala, who has amazing executive presence, right? And I keep on telling my students, one thing you have to remember: you emulate, not imitate. You get what I mean? You don't have to imitate somebody because he's your model. You just emulate what he's doing and try to somehow develop a style of your own, emulating who you admire. It's much better than just imitating or aping somebody else. Especially for professionals or executives, you need to have that unique quality too for your people to really recognize you, for your people to respect you. You have to be your own person, so to speak.
Great way to look at it. Emulate, but not
Uh huh.
imitate. And I
Yes.
had to look it up in the dictionary. Like emulate, it says here to strive to equal or to excel. So it doesn't say to copy. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
that's right.
Emulate.
Uh
Yeah.
huh. Because you can never imitate somebody else. I mean, there are no two people exactly the same. There's always a difference somewhere, right? But wait a minute. We started out this episode with me asking you what brought you to somehow come up with that personal acceptance and stuff, and you never answered me. You threw back the question at me.
Okay. What led me to post that thing? Well, first of all, it's not mine. Like I just saw it somewhere
Uh huh.
and then I just forwarded it. And I guess what struck me the most is the fact that, most people struggle with their identity or their concept of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It could be related, like, for example, like, don't they say people on Instagram live an artificial lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
that whatever they post in there, that's not who they really are. And then when it comes to, if you take a look at all of the younger people, I suppose, they all want to look like a certain celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that thing that you're talking about, George, that coming to terms with your own voice and
Mm-hmm.
loving its own sound,
Mm-hmm.
it probably isn't even a function of age,
Uh-huh.
because it sounds like there are some young people who have embraced their individuality at a young age.
Uh-huh.
And there are people who, at the age of, I don't know, maybe 40s or 50s, are still struggling to come
We're
to
st-
terms with who they
we're
are.
still searching, right? Uh-huh.
So I guess what resonated with me is the fact that, they're saying nowadays the younger kids are a lot more tolerant.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to teach them about diversity and inclusion because they naturally appreciate
Mm-hmm.
diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess when I posted that, it was number one to drive home the message that you can't be anything other than who you are. Like, why deprive the world of your unique qualities?
Precisely. Precisely. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed with you. You never used to do this. As a matter of fact, there's only one time I heard you do that. That was in the radio station a long time ago when you sang Curtis Tigers. I wonder why. And I was floored when you sang that in a radio station because you sounded like Curtis Tigers. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that. You
I
sang
know
it.
it.
You were in the newsroom that time when you did that, and then you started posting yourself singing, singing, and posting it on TikTok. And I told myself, hey, I mean, it sounds like RB. It doesn't sound like the original singer, but it sounds like RB, and it sounds great. And
Wow.
and thanks for posting those things again. Even my
Actually,
daughter, even my
uh,
daughter was so amused with seeing you sing.
yeah, because I would never be caught dead singing in public. I don't know, George. Like one night, I just said, no, I was listening to a live stream, and then
Uh-huh.
there was someone who was singing that song from by Ariel Rivera, rather.
Yes, that's right.
And then I said, "Hey, I can do that." Like,
Hmm.
but it hurt. Like it hurts so much here. Like I think it's because I'm not familiar with the head tone.
Uh-huh.
So it really hurt the top of my head, and I Googled something and said, same song, lower key, and then I found one, and I said, "Yeah, I
Hmm.
can do this." So in a
Yeah.
moment of, I don't know, in a moment of being impulsive, like I just recorded myself.
You should keep on doing that. I mean, it racks up your statistics on TikTok.
Or it could also do the opposite because people stopped subscribing.
No, I don't think so. I think they're entertained, if not amused, entertained.
Yeah. But aside from singing, George, I think there's other aspects of myself that I haven't fully come to terms with, like admitting that I probably have ADHD.
Uh-huh. You
Or
have ADHD.
I think I do because
You're such a cool dude. I mean, you're the last person I'd ever think who has a ADHD.
because how it is, like the hypochondriacs, they sort of self-diagnose after they
Uh-huh.
read so many things. I've
Hmm.
seen so much information about ADHD, it's making me wonder, hey, do I have ADHD?
Or you might call that osmosis. You keep on reading those things and you identify with it already. But you don't have ADHD. You just keep on reading about it, and then you try to insert yourself into that situation. Because I don't think you have ADHD. I'm not a psychologist. You got to go to my daughter to determine that. But I don't think you
Oh, that's a good idea. Like
have.
I will ask Nina
Yeah,
to diagnose if I have ADHD.
and I think she's gonna find that hilarious.
But if we look at, I don't know, look at people all over the world, or maybe even in the Philippines,
Mhm.
how very few people are actually happy with who they are, or who they've become.
That's why they're not happy. You know what I mean? How can they be happy if they can't even accept the fact that they are that person? See, they keep on searching. But once you've accepted that fact, whoever you are, that's the time you start being happy, right?
Here are examples of when people do not really accept who they are. So this is something that I read, George, like in Mexico, supposedly, which is a
Uh-huh.
Catholic country. There are a lot of men who do not accept the fact that they're gay. And what they do is
Hmm.
they get married, they have kids, they have really horrible marriages because their wives feel unloved in some way.
Hmm.
And they have a secret life
Hmm.
where, they hook up with other men, but it's all hidden
Yes,
because to to declare yourself as gay in a predominantly Catholic country is like the kiss of death.
that's very true. That's very true.
And when I read that, I go, "Oh, I don't think that's limited to Mexico."
Uh-huh. More so here in the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's really sad. There's so many things that were being done before that are absolute no-nos nowadays. I get in my feeds in my social media, especially on Facebook, a lot of excerpts from Johnny Carson and Robin Williams and stuff. And the jokes they make, everything that they used to say or do before, are strictly probably no-nos now or forbidden now. You just can't crack those jokes anymore. But they used to do that, and it was really hilarious before. And that's why probably a lot of comedians nowadays, even Billy Crystal was saying, it's so difficult to be a comedian nowadays because of that. There's so many restrictions to what you can say, and what you're not supposed to say because it goes against, well, call it political, whatever, right? Politically correct, so to
Mm,
speak.
yeah, like I think I watched on probably YouTube
Mhm.
like episodes of comedy shows from 40, 50 years back.
Uh-huh.
And they use words like, things that you can't use now, like fat
Yeah.
or I don't know, other things. And I guess in a way, it's a good thing because we openly advocate acceptance of,
Mhm.
the differences in people.
But
Uh,
don't you think some people just tend to overdo it? Like just a couple of days back, my daughter and I were talking, and I was telling her about United Nations Day every October, right? When you're supposed to wear the costume of a country and stuff. And I remember when I was in grade school, I was India simply because I was thin and I wore glasses, so I was Mahatma Gandhi. And she said, nowadays you're not allowed to do that anymore. You can't even wear those kinds of costumes.
yeah, that's weird. The term for it now is cultural appropriation.
Yes, I totally forgot the term. That's what my daughter said too, cultural appropriation. And I just don't understand why. Why is it improper to do that when you're supposed to be honoring the culture of a certain country, right?
So cultural appropriation, for example, is they're saying when someone sings the song of a black artist, for example.
Mm-hmm. That's cultural
Cultural
appropriation.
appropriation, yeah. Or when someone dresses up like they're from another country. It's like what
Mm-hmm.
you said, like if you
Uh-huh.
dress up in a costume.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that thing in I don't know if it's in Hollywood or in a Broadway play where they got a white person to play the role of a black person and they did it with
Then they paint the face.
yeah. So
Uh-huh.
a lot of people frowned upon that. And I guess it goes back to the fact that there are just so many Karens in the world right now. They complain about everything.
My goodness. I was telling my daughter that back in grade one. Remember those things we used to do every February, RV in school, when we had the field day and we had to perform. The whole the whole grade was supposed to perform this kind of dance or whatever. I don't know if you had that in grade school, but we had that before. And I remember in first grade we had to do a Tahitian dance, and of course we had to wear costumes, right? And yung abaka, the grass skirt, and we made our grass skirts out of brooms,
Mm.
walis tambo, right? And then we had to paint ourselves black. And that's when my daughter reacted and said, Dad, you can't do that anymore
Oh, wow.
because we painted ourselves black. And apparently that's a no no nowadays. Anyway, so that's what do you call that again? Cultural
Cultural appropriation.
appropriation. Okay, I better tattoo that in my dictionary because I keep on forgetting that. My goodness. But you've accepted yourself, I suppose, for whatever
Probably
you
not
are.
completely.
Not completely.
Uh there's there's a saying resistance causes persistence.
Mm-hmm.
So the more things change or the more you try to change things, the more they stay the same.
Uh-huh.
And the only way that you know that you have really come to self-acceptance is when there's nothing that you resist about who you are.
I guess I've come to that point already. I mean, I have to come to that point at my age. I don't really have much time anymore. So it's a good thing I was able to somehow accept that.
It's not an easy journey, I think,
Definitely.
because
Most
we all
definitely.
live by some sort of standard. Like the
Yes.
media, uh, not maybe not just the media, maybe even other people, maybe society imposes upon us a template of how our lives should be.
Mm-hmm.
By a particular age, you should have this or you should be able to afford this.
Mm-hmm.
And people get so pressured to live up to that image that it's so hard to just be who you are. It also makes it difficult for people to find a a life partner because they
Mhm.
always try to appear to be someone who they're not.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And so they attract people who like who they're not, but
Very
probably
true.
won't like who they really are.
It brings me back to college days. I remember they were saying, I'm not going to say the school anymore, but they were saying, if you take up management engineering, when you graduate, your starting salary would be 20,000 when the starting salary before was just about 6,000. So everybody rushed to management engineering, not realizing it was one of the most difficult courses offered. And of course, during the second year, most of them dropped out of that course. See, because of the expectations. And when they graduated, those who stuck on with ME, when they graduated, they realized it wasn't true. That salary expectation wasn't true. It really depended on the company you're going to be working with and the qualifications you have. Then here I was a DJ working 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I was earning more than a regular bank manager who was working, what, 5 days a week, 8 hours more or more a day.
George, you know what? You said something funny
Well,
related to that. Like I remembered, very clearly remember something that you said, I don't know,
mm-hmm.
30 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Like we were eating somewhere, like probably lunch. You know,
Uh-huh.
if you remember that before ABC5 opened its office in Novaliches, there was this office in Makati that
Yeah,
you,
in Amor Solo,
right?
right? Uh-huh.
So we were having lunch and then you pointed out to people wearing neckties and then you go,
Uh-huh.
ayan yung mga necktie, maliliit ang kita niyan. I remember you said that. And that was the time I said, oh, wow, I am never going to wear a necktie again.
But it's true, right? I mean, you think it's prestigious. I mean, you have to wear a necktie, you have to wear really good clothes, and you're just earning this much. What the heck? So that's it. That's a trade-off, perhaps. Of course, in our business before broadcasting, you don't even have to get dressed to be to show that you're respectable, because they only hear your voice. They don't even see you. So even if you're wearing slippers, you can do exactly that. But that's it. I mean, expectations, like hotel people, for instance. Ang ganda, naka-hotel time and everything, di ba? But then again, they don't really make that much either. As compared to call center agents, again, would you accept the fact that you're just wearing this and you're earning this much, or you want to be prestigious or look prestigious, but you're hand hand to mouth, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah. And if you take a look at who's like the young people who are earning
Mm-hmm.
a lot now,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be surprised. Like there are people who go on do live selling rather on
Yep.
Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and they're earning really ridiculous amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people who, like got an entry level job doing, I don't know, earning the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because it was impressed upon them that by a certain age you should do this,
Mm-hmm.
and it restricts them from finding what their unique gift is to the world.
That's true. That's very true. I was surprised one time. I did an event, again, a voiceover. It was to honor those who sell online, because this was a logistics company, and they wanted to somehow show their gratitude to those who sell online and use their logistics company to ship the products. It was held in a really five-star place, and I was surprised. I never realized that there was this group of people who just do that for a living. And they came in, average age probably was about 22 to 25. And they were so simple. I mean, t-shirt and everything. But apparently they were making millions, hundreds of thousands to millions, just by selling stuff online. And that made me think, boy, these kids surely know what they want to do with their lives, and they're doing it, and they're having fun doing it. They're getting the best of both worlds. Right?
Yeah. And George, I'm reacting to what you're saying right now about that
Mhm.
kid who's earning a lot of money.
Mhm.
I think there is something that the educational system is doing that suppresses the entrepreneurial spirit of some people
Very true. Very true.
and also the artistic spirit of some people.
Uh-huh.
Like they're impressing upon the kids that the only way that you can make money is if you got really good grades, memorizing all sorts of things,
Mhm.
and if you got a job right after graduation. But it does not honor the fact that some people will never be intellectually superior, and at least from an academic point of view,
Mhm.
but they will have entrepreneurial or artistic skills that they can make money of.
Very true. I had a student, she was 11 years old that time. I didn't know she was very popular, but apparently she was. And apparently she's making millions out of her videos on YouTube and TikTok. And she's famous worldwide now just because of that. She's 18 years old now. She's still famous. And you know what she does? She just dances. She's she dances online.
Wow.
See,
Wow.
and she's making millions out of it. I had another student. I was talking to her. I asked her, "So what do you do?" Apparently, she dropped out of college, but she intends to go back just to for that precious degree. But anyway, you know what she does? She plays online games,
Wow.
and to the point that she stays in a condo somewhere in Quezon City, a very nice condo, and all her equipment was given by sponsors, computers, everything. Even
Wow.
her condo was given by sponsors, and all she had to do was play online every single day. See, and
Wow.
she's happy doing that. And she was telling me, George, even if I grow old, I can still do this. It's not really physically taxing, so to speak. They're fortunate that they found their space in the world and having fun doing it. That's the ultimate.
What I'm thinking of, George, as I listen to what you're saying, is that when you are not afraid to embrace who you are,
Hmm.
you will find people who like you for who you are.
Yes, definitely. And there are a lot. There are a lot of people who will like you for whoever or whatever you are.
Cool. So I think that's a great way to end this
Mm-hmm.
session.
Mm-hmm.
The self-acceptance is about not resisting who you are, not
Hmm.
pretending to be someone else, fully embracing who you are, and allowing people to appreciate you for who you are.
Yeah, just be open because it's a whole wide world out there which you can explore. One thing that could set you back is the fear of the unknown. But how will you know the unknown if you don't venture into it? So go for it. I mean, there's nothing to lose. If it's not for you, fine, leave it. If it's for you, bless you. Okay, and of course, we're looking. I'm looking at the just well, people have started liking our videos, but it would be nice if you could follow us. Um, that's the term, right, RV? Follow us on
Follow, yeah.
follow us on YouTube and TikTok. What about subscription or subscribe? I hear that word. So when does that happen?
I think on YouTube the word is subscribe, but
Uh
on
huh.
TikTok it's probably follow.
Okay, please do that. We have the info that's going to be flashed by RB. The graphics will tell you how you can do it. You can go to YouTube. My channel on YouTube is the Boon Marrow. Of course, on Spotify, it's also the Boon Marrow. Aside from these episodes, you can also listen to my kind of music and enjoy yourself while doing it. And of course, on TikTok, we have our own TikTok places. That's it. Thank you so much for being with us today.